Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the C-Man. I want to welcome you to another edition of the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down. And yes, it's still sort of DC fandom oriented up here in the C-Man cave. This isn't anything new. We pumped out, I think, just about everything except for the Suicide Squad stuff that we saw because it was more like a behind the scenes. I'm going to do a breakdown of that and just get in because there's some great stuff. Everything we got yesterday was great. No new content, but I was like, you know what? I had a big day yesterday, and it kind of revolved around the Batman. I got the most views I've ever gotten on a video. I've gotten like 100 subs in less than 12 hours, which has never happened. And the general support and just really kind words that a lot of you gave me in the comments section. It's the most comments I've ever gotten, the most likes I've ever gotten. This video just blew up, kind of like the Joker did for me when I did that one last year, just on a completely different scale. And I found myself saying a lot of those things, so I did a separate thank you video. You can see it right here. I really, really do appreciate all the kind words, all the support that you guys have given me. It's one of the things that has become a reason on why I continue to crank on these, man, for the last 3 years. Because as much as I love doing it for myself and my friends and family, getting to react and comment and talk with you guys is become one of my favorite things about this. So I did that in a separate video. Now, as a thank you to you, we're going to do something I haven't done in a while, man. So why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat. We are getting ready for a C-Man trailer breakdown of the Batman. And to be honest with you, I think I'm going to do trailer breakdowns for most of the trailers we saw yesterday. Because something with me, I eventually will pick up on a lot of things, but on the first watch, I kind of latch on to like one or two things. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just let it absorb, and I don't pick up on everything. Like, I don't really see Paul Dano anywhere, but Paul Dano's everywhere on this trailer. And just talking about some of the things with his character, and specifically how creepy and terrifying the Riddler is this time around. Something I wanted to talk about, and stuff I picked up on second, third, fourth. I had to have watched this thing like 100 times by now, man. I got lots of notes. We're gonna dive into this bad boy, so buckle up your seatbelts, man. Strap in. We are getting deep on the Batman. And I tell you, like, even though some of the formatting to DC fandom, or some of the way like it was marketed or stuff, I had a couple issues. The general format was great because you didn't miss anything. You got to watch everything, just one right after the next. But you couldn't go back and rewind or re-listen. You had to wait for encores and things of that nature. And I tell you, the biggest thing I took away from this panel was just listening to Matt Reeves talk about the Batman universe he is building. My dude is approaching the Bat and Gotham and the Rogues Gallery in a way that feels like the way Marvel has attacked the MCU, man. Like, you could literally do an MCU-styled universe with just Batman. There's enough heroes, there's enough villains, and listening to him talk about the creation of this, getting back to him being a detective, doing all the things that we want to see from a Batman movie, and Batman just as a character on screen. I thought this was going to be the best Batman movie before I even saw footage, dude. Like, that's how, like, just listening to him talk about it, I was like, this guy has put a lot of thought into what he's doing, and knowing that he's also overseeing and producing some of the Gotham PD show that will be up for HBO Max. Like, legitimately building out a universe. The Batman, year 2 Batman. Gotham PD, year 1 Batman from the corrupt police perspective. And there's probably, he said he shot about 25% of the movie. I think there's maybe 7 or 8 scenes that he shot that's in here. But there's so much juicy good things. I got pages of notes. I can't wait to dive in. So let's get our trusty little travel box up. All right, let's get nice and small and shrink it on down. Hey, we are tiny, and the trailer for the Batman is down below. And like I said, strap in, kids, because we are going in deep on this. And it starts right out the gate with this Warner Brothers and DC logo. I love, and it was one of the things I did not point out yesterday, I love watching those logos bounce to that noise. And, like, you think you might know what that noise is, but you're not really sure. And then, of course, boom, we see where it's coming from, and it's good old Mr. Paul Dano's Riddler ripping up, like, the duct tape covering my man's face, no more lies. And that seems to be the thing the Riddler is really getting at here. No more lies. We see no more lies here. We see lies, liar, all over the place. And from what I've been able to pick up is that this Riddler knows something that I don't think anybody else knows. And he, I believe, is reaching out to the Bat with these murders to be like, there's something bigger than what I'm doing here. And that's the vibe I'm getting. Almost like a demented vigilante. Like, I'm going to kill these guys, and I'm going to expose this big secret. And that's the vibe I'm getting from this Riddler. And, dude, I'm so here for it. Because we've seen the loony, crazy Riddler. Whether it was Gorshin or Carrie. Like, not a dark, scary Riddler. And you can do dark and scary with the Riddler. And one of the things I think is great with what Reeves is doing is it's all about perspective, right? Like he said, I love all of these Batman movies. I love this material. And what's cool, both in the comics and in the visual medium, whether it's animated movies or live action, there's so many different variations to Batman. Every time a new writer gets their hands on him, adds to the lore, adds to the character, gives us the character in ways we haven't seen it. And to dive into the early days of the Bat, where you can flesh out ideas or how criminals get to where they are and how the Bat gets to where he is, you could do some different things. And, Reeves said, like, the Riddler is not the Riddler we know yet. He's leading toward that form, but this is the early days. And the idea of someone this demented and crazy leading to somebody that might wear the green suit and the bowler cap and the cane is fascinating, and I want to see how we get there. And also, it's a realism to this, man. It feels like it's going to be a hardcore murder detective mystery, and that is something that we have dearly missed in live-action Batman movies. So let's go back in here. So you get that no lies bit, and now here. So this is, again, one of those shots that I, just kind of was like, oh, there's Commissioner Gordon. But when you watch this bit, watch how everybody kind of turns their head. Specifically, the guy over on the left on the video, the last guy that we can see in their frame. As Gordon passes, they all kind of turn and have this look in their eye. And I didn't even put it together first, like 5 or 6 times I was watching. But all of a sudden, when I started to realize that all of these cut up clips are probably like I said, 7 or 8 scenes that Reeves has probably shot, I was like, oh, this is what's going on. He points out in the panel, this is year 2 Batman, which means he's not the beacon of hope. He's not the light in the darkness for Gotham yet. He's scary. It's one of those, like, if you were in real life and all of a sudden some dude start dressing up like a bat and just going out at night and getting into things with criminals, yeah, I would you'd be scared if you saw that. And that's kind of the vibe. People are uneasy around the Bat. And we'll see later on in the trailer, he gets into a little bit of a scuffle inside Gotham PD. What I put together here is that clearly he already has that relationship with Gordon. It's been about 1.5 years when this movie's taking place. And like I said, Gotham PD, the show, will take place during year 1. And we'll see the Bat from the cop's perspective. But clearly Ari has a relationship with Gordon. And as we go into this, scene that we're watching, and Gordon kind of going through the crime scene, you realize everything about the crime scene is being given to the Bat, the card to Batman. Gordon clearly, and then we see Batman in the room later on, like very visible and like not like mysteriously just trying to find Gordon and then disappear. He's in the room. It's because Gordon brought him in. Stuff is directed toward Batman. Most of these cops don't like him. Gordon clearly probably has some affinity for him because he understands maybe where he's coming from. I don't know. We're 1.5 years in, but they've obviously got some kind of relationship. Not close, because like I said, you see Batman fighting cops, and we'll get there later. But knows enough to go, whatever this is different than what we've seen in Gotham previously. I'm sure most of it is probably, mob or, mob crime related in Gotham. Now this is something totally different. And it's reaching directly to a guy. So I'm going to bring you in and be like, do you understand why this is going on? Why are they calling out to you? And seeing the cops watch Batman walk into the room, and it gotta be terrifying. Like this, and that's what all of their faces look like. So as we go back in here, we're seeing the crime scene. This and as we get ready to see Gordon looking up here, like we see Gordon and them kind of going through the crime scene. Dano has clearly put the body in that chair. This is clearly the body that we see at the beginning. So we're getting to watch Gordon kind of go through the crime scene. This shot where he looks up and does this with the flashlight. Originally, I thought, oh, maybe this is like a random crime scene, like Batman strung the bad guy up, to the ceiling or something, or like he crashed in through. Like I'm thinking that he's looking up has probably something to do with Batman. No, maybe there's a bigger message or a bigger clue left behind by the Riddler. But I don't think he's looking at Batman stuff, because I think Batman is in the room with everybody, which is such a fascinating concept. Because yes, we've seen Batman have interactions with the police through everything in the visual medium space, but like we've never seen him brought in where he's not on a rooftop talking to Gordon or at Gordon's house. Like he's being brought in full. I guess Dark Knight did that when he comes in to interrogate Joker. But at that point, you're like talking big, crazy supervillain bad. Here, it's just crazy murder, and it's a call out to Batman. So like, I just think watching them case the place, knowing that they're going to invite Batman in, is awesome. So as we keep moving here, boom. Now here, when I first saw these boots, I was figuring that maybe that's Gordon or maybe another one of the cops, because when I saw the boots, I was like, oh, Batman. And then I saw what was trailing behind him, and it looked kind of like a trench coat almost. And I was like, oh, maybe this is one of the cops. Maybe it's Harvey Bullock, because he usually wears the beige trench coat, but this looked like some kind of a trench coat. It is for sure Batman, because we see him right after this. But it's interesting to see how short the cape is here. Typically, we're used to Batman's cape, even if it's CGI'd and then gets way bigger later, or even the Chris Nolan Batman, how he could use the fingers to kind of make it solidify so he could glide, and it gets really big in that sense. Usually, the cape almost touches the ground if it's not touching the ground. This is well above his ankles. So it's interesting, like, I wonder if that's part of the functionality that Bruce is figuring out in these early days, to have the cape be maybe more functional than more of something that allows him to fly or capture bad guys and stuff. Like, maybe we're getting there. So I don't know what that means. It could just be the look or the style, but it's interesting that the cape looks really short, at least to me. Now here, this is another thing. So I love that we're getting this voiceover of Gordon reading the letter, or the card that was to Batman. We'll get into the card in a minute. But as he's reading it, we're seeing more clues inside of the house. The other thing, too, how has Jeffrey Wright never been Jim Gordon? Like, immediately, the minute you see his face for the first time, I was like, that's Jim Gordon. Looks exactly like Jim Gordon. Like, perfect casting. I can't believe we've never seen Jeffrey Wright play Gordon before. Brilliant casting, and when it comes to a world that seems to always be craving diversity and letting movies look more like reality, perfect character to race bend. Jim Gordon being white doesn't mean anything. So bringing in a guy who's going to crush as an actor like Jeffrey Wright will, yes, you're going to applaud Matt Reeves a lot during this movie and during this trailer. But here we see, a bunch of different newspaper, front pages with, again, the word lies written across it. And all we can make out is all of these headlines refer to somebody named Don. Don's done it again. King Don. Getting like onto I think one of them maybe has something to do with like the election circuit or trail. But all of these pieces of news clippings showed this guy. And then it shows lies. I did a quick search. I couldn't find any character related directly to the Batman story with the first name Don, because there's no last name here. Can't figure out who it is. So the best I could put together is this is the DA, I think. I think this is the DA before Harvey Dent. I think what the Riddler is trying to get out in all of this is the corruption that is deep-rooted inside this city. It goes up to the mayor's office. It goes to the police department. It goes to the DA. Now, clearly, out front, the DA is making it look good, man. I mean, we're going to see another clip, and this is why I really think it's the DA. We'll see another clip inside his office in a minute, where I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense. But maybe these busts he's making, maybe he's getting paid on the side. Maybe he's involved more than you think he is. Maybe he's working with the Penguin, who is a crime lord, as well as, we've got Carmine Falcone as well. Maybe he's working with those guys. When we get to that other newspaper, you're going to see why maybe Falcone could be the guy, or the Penguin. Maybe that's what he's getting paid under the table. I think that's what the Riddler is getting at here. He's trying to show what the corruption is. And when we get to what he says to Batman toward the end of the trailer, we'll talk about that too. But here, like I said, I don't know who Don is. My best guess, probably the current DA. And with him being murdered, that's going to open the door for the election circuit and a chance for Harvey Dent to be brought into this story. And we've heard, Reeves hint at the fact that, like, Harvey Dent could be one of the characters in play. So we continue. We got Lies Now, the card. Dude, the card. Oh, this I love. So first off, just look at the cover. Let's look at the cover of the card here. There it is. So you see it says all the things that we've heard Gordon say. It's from your secret friend, and then it says who. And it's a skeleton leaning above an owl. That owl's face looks so much like that plastic mask thing that Dano's got on at the beginning of the trailer. I'm like wondering if he drew inspiration from it. We'll get a better shot of the mask and break that down in a second, or a couple minutes. Who knows when, but when we get to it. But here, I just think it's interesting that that owl looks very similar to what Dano's going for, which made me think of something else from the Batman universe that Mr. Scott Snyder brought to us, and that's the Court of Owls. Is somehow what the Riddler is doing or getting to dive that deep? Are we hinting at the Court of Owls right out the gate? And if that's the case, like I said, he talks to Batman toward the end, sort of talking about him being involved. Could we be getting into the secret history of the Waynes that we've seen in things like the Telltale games, where they actually made Martha and Arkham? That story was amazing. And that's some of the vibes I'm getting here, man. Like, maybe we're getting into, like, hinting at Court of Owls, a past or legacy of the Waynes that Bruce doesn't know about. Maybe that is also part of the Riddler's game. Maybe the Riddler figured out that Bruce is Batman, because we've always said that the thing that, would tell you right away, some guy pops out of nowhere with all this tech, all this gadgetry, looking like a bat. Who's got the money and resources to do that stuff but Bruce Wayne? The Riddler is a super genius. Maybe homie puts it together, and maybe that's what he's getting at. Or I could just be completely diving in way too deep on these things, and it's just kind of funny that the owl kind of looks like Riddler. But it's more about what's inside the card here. I love that the card says, what does a liar do when he's dead? I think that's what it says. We can't see all of it, but that's my guess. And then obviously what we hear Gordon read, I'm your secret friend, who, which is on the front, having a clue, let's play a game, just me and you, and then a bunch of symbols on the bottom. And the symbols got me so excited because that is hardcore detective stuff, man. Batman is going to have to figure out what all these symbols mean and how you go about figuring out who is behind all of these things. We've heard Reeves say it's going to be noirish. It's going to be a detective movie. And things like this are really keying into what kind of a detective movie we're going to get. And I think we're going to see Batman figure a lot of stuff out. And that's awesome, because so often can Batman just switch to, like, action beating the crap out of people. I want that too. We're going to get it in a minute.
Just me.
I love that we're just going in on... Now here, this is the other spot. So this woman taking a picture. I love, like I said, I love just diving in on the detective stuff. I want to do detective work. Up on the wall, over on the left, we see King Don, that front page that was in that collage of front pages that the Riddler's put together. It says Lies. And then up on the wall, it says Maroni Drug Bust. That is the third big key member of Gotham's Underground. You've got, Carmine Falcone. You got Oswald Cobblepot as Penguin, kind of up and coming in a rise. He's not yet the kingpin that he will become, but clearly trying to make waves, trying to make noise, probably because you got the Falcones and the Maronis, like the two big mob groups here. And who is going to have a Maroni drug bust front page hanging on their wall? The DA of Gotham. And that's why I think Don is the DA. He also has that King Don one up there. All things that a DA would do. So I think that's what we're at. And all of this stuff that we're seeing right now at the beginning, it's all pretty much one sequence. And that's what I mean. Like, there's not a lot of sequences here, but there is so much material put into this trailer. It just shows you the genius of Matt Reeves. A quarter of the way into filming, man. Like, it's amazing. Now, I love also that Gordon everything rhymes, right? Like the Riddler would, and then he goes, does this mean anything to you? Also falls into the rhyme scheme. I love that. I also love that when he picks up this card, it says, to the Batman, and like some letters look like capitals, some letters look like lowercase letters. It looks like a child wrote to the Batman on there. And that makes you wonder, what kind of crazy are we getting with the Riddler? Like, does he have something that makes him feel kind of like a child still? Or is that just part of the creepiness? I don't know, but it's wonderful. And the vibes, there's just so many comic book vibes and comic accurate vibes coming out of this. Like I said in my reaction, a lot of vibes of the Long Halloween, where you have a murder every month starting in October, going for a full year, 12 issues. And each issue covers a different person from the Rogues Gallery as we figure out who this holiday killer is. Now, obviously, we know as the Riddler is behind these things, but I think the way in which the Riddler is going to approach these murders and stage them and leave notes and things for the Bat to find, that's where you're getting your Long Halloween vibes, something that, I'm pretty sure Matt Reeves has said it was an inspiration, as well as like Taxi Driver. He put up a couple movies where I was like, oh man, like if you're going for Taxi Driver Riddler, I am here for that, dude. That could be like crazy. And clearly, if that and some of the other movies that he mentioned, I can't think of off the top of my head right now. Chinatown, I think, was the other one he said during the panel. If that's the vibe you're getting, you're probably gonna have a satisfying Batman ending, but a dark ending of some kind. And I think the other thing that we're seeing here too with Reeves as he's building out this universe and talking about how these are the early days of these criminals starting to become who they will become, means ain't none of them gonna die, which means they're all gonna be in play, which means we could actually be seeing, Reeves not only just flush out the Batman, but flush out these criminals and keep them around so we can bring them back, right? Like James Wan was talking about how Orm is going to be back in Aquaman. That's cool, man. You don't have to have him be the main villain again. But having Orm show up makes a lot of sense to the story. So you could have, the Riddler and Penguin be your villains, and maybe your next villain is Harvey Dent, You could still have those characters come back into play. If there's one thing Marvel has shown the world, you can have lots of characters in a movie and make it work if you know what you're doing. And it feels like Matt Reeves has a grasp on this and this universe building of Gotham the way Feige does over at Marvel. Yeah, I said it. Big time words, but I believe it, dude. Like, if this movie delivers and Gotham PD delivers, I hope Matt Reeves oversees all things Batman for this particular universe that he's building. So we continue. Our first look at the Bat, and he's gorgeous. I just love, like, we've seen obviously, like, the suit before, but this is like the best shot of the suit that we've had in anything. And he just looks the part so much. And obviously the close-ups that we've gotten were his stunt double, and his jawline is not the same as Robert's. Robert's jawline looks better than the guy who's doing his stunts. But I just love him, and I love him being in the room with the Gotham PD. It's just great. Now here, and we jump. I don't know who this actor is. Does anybody know who this is? I'm not sure. My thought is he's either the current mayor, which I think is not true. I think he's the commissioner of the police right now, because we know Gordon's not the commissioner. Behind him are all the police. It looks like they're out front of Gotham PD doing a press conference, probably talking to the murder or murders that have been going on in Gotham. So I think this guy is the current commissioner. Probably will be corrupt, obviously. And then here, this is, again, something else that I did not get right when I was watching this. I was looking for faces, and I was specifically looking for Colin Farrell because I adore Colin Farrell. One of my all-time favorite actors. Dude is a genius. He's so versatile when you give him the opportunity. But this is not Colin Farrell. We'll see Colin Farrell in a little bit, and it don't look like this. I couldn't find Colin Farrell because it don't look like Colin Farrell. But this is actually Robert Pattinson. On the second watch, after you see what we see at the end, when he takes off the cowl, he's got the black eye makeup on, which I freaked out about because no visual medium has ever done that. It's always on his face, and then he takes that cowl off, and it's not there. This is him not wearing the cowl. I think he's scoping out what's going on at this press conference that the commissioner might be having here, or the possible commissioner is having. And he's watching, but he's got the mask up. He's got the eyes painted black, so he could put on the cowl. And if he was wearing the cowl beforehand, he looks like he's leaving. You see him putting on the helmet. Obviously, the helmet different than the cowl, so he still puts on the eye makeup, puts on the mask, so that even when he has his helmet on, he's disguised. I love all of that. And I just like the idea of, like, the Bat looking on not as Bruce Wayne or the Batman. You know what I mean? And like, just that look in his eyes, dude. Like, you can just tell. I've said it from day one. Robert Pattinson being cast for this movie was genius. The dude is an unbelievable actor. Watch what he's done in the last 5, 6, 7 years of his career. The dude can do anything, man. Like, any role you put him in, he becomes that character full on. You can just see the pain and the disdain toward crime in this dude's eyes just in that shot. And we'll talk about, early days Batman and the kind of rage he's dealing with. That just in his eyes, where you can see it, it's just always there. And that's something I really, really, really like about what Robbie is doing here. So you see him putting on his helmet. Now he's taking off. I love this shot also, because it's another thing that I think the movie is kind of sort of hint at. It's like Wayne Manor's not in the city. When you see Wayne Manor, big piece of property. You can't have that in Gotham City. But you never really get an established sense of how far away the city is. Now, odd to be driving down a road where, like, the road is lined with gravestones. At first I was like, oh, maybe he's on the Wayne property and these are all his ancestors. There's a lot of gravestones there, so I think this must be a public, cemetery somewhere on the outside of Gotham as he's heading to Wayne Manor. But you can see in the background, above all the trees, the buildings of Gotham City. Gotham is a ways away from where Wayne Manor is, which I think allows Bruce to do a lot of things without people realizing it, because he's secluded from everybody when he's not in Gotham. So I love seeing that shot, because it's an establishing shot that I really can't think of in any other movies. Now, we also hear Andy Serkis's voice here, and just hear Andy Serkis's voice. We don't see Andy anywhere. But the idea of a younger, badass Alfred, yeah, he sounds like Andy Serkis, but also, like, it fits. Like, I listened to it, I was like, that sounds like an Alfred, too. Like, just from the voice work, which is something we know Andy is amazing at. Because very often he doesn't visually put himself on screen. He usually gets edited out. I think it's working. Like, I'm not even seeing Serkis. We'll hear him one other time. Both instances in which I hear him speak, I'm like, yes. Now, the other thing, too, that we get right here is our first look at the Batcave. Now, for me, it kind of has a cave vibe as far as, like, the dirty stone and the darkness of it. But looks like it was something that was legitimately built out for Wayne Manor. Now, whether this is something that Bruce did or something that was already there. You have these stairs with these, like, lampposts on it. Kind of remind me of a subway station. I don't even know why I'm saying subway station when I see them, but it kind of looks like less of a cave when you really look at it. Just like I said, the colors and the darkness, and it looks damp in there, which is kind of cave-esque. But I like it. The vibe is there, even if it is something that's directly attached to the house and isn't necessarily like you go down these stairs, find a secret passageway, and boom, we have a cave that we can build something in. This feels something like a space that a billionaire would have if he was trying to be a Batman for a year and a half. It looks like it's functional. It's got a lot of space. Obviously, you can fit the Batmobile and the Batcycle in there. And he's got, like, a bunch of equipment and monitors and all things I like for Batman. I love it. As long as there's enough space in there for a gigantic penny and an animatronic dino at some point in life, I like the vibe of this Bat Cave. Now, here's something else. We got Robbie. You see him right before all mayhem breaks out in this sequence. I've heard some people talk about, like, they don't like what they're seeing with this Bruce Wayne. I don't know if it's the long hair or what it is. I love it. Without even hearing Robbie speak or do anything. Like, this is young Bruce Wayne. I don't expect him to be as polished as Bruce Wayne as he might be as Batman. I don't even expect his Batman to be fully polished. I think his fighting skills will be. We're going to see those in a minute. But the other thing, too, that Matt Reeves said is Wayne is the mask. Batman is the real guy. So, usually, like I say, the thing that I think would give Batman away to a genius is who has the resources to pull off these things. Now, granted, the stuff he has ain't crazy in tech yet, so it could be anybody. But it's got to be somebody with resources. This version of Bruce Wayne doesn't look like a guy that would dress up like a bat. I just don't get, like, that aggressive bat. Like, this is a guy that's kicking the shit out of people. He just looks like a regular dude. And again, I think this is young Bruce Wayne, so I don't think he is the business entrepreneur that he becomes in the daytime. And I think we might see him grow into that, because we know that Robbie can crush that aristocratic vibe. He just has that look and that feel, and we've seen it in other films. I think he's going to be fine as Bruce. I think once we see him physically acting as Bruce, anyone that's nervous about it, you're going to be okay. But personally, for me, I like a Bruce with like long hair, and I don't know, it's a different take, and I'm here for it because, like I said, I think Robbie's going to make you believe everything he does in this movie. Now, this is a first chance for us to see our hero be a hero, and what I love is it doesn't matter whether he's wearing the Bruce Wayne mask or he's wearing his real true face of Batman. Being a hero is deep in his core. And we're going to see him dive. And, of course, Batman, Bruce Wayne's going to save the kid. I love that. And maybe that kid could play into Batman's history. Maybe that could be Dick Grayson. Now, granted, Dick Grayson is in the circus, so he's probably not at a memorial for Don, whoever Don is. Like I said, I think it's the DA. That's where we're at. I think we're outside of the courthouse. And there's a big public gathering. They got all these seats put out there for this memorial. And we're going to get a Riddler guy driving this car through, almost taking out this kid. But it'd be interesting, man. Like, I don't know why Dick Grayson would be there, but maybe it won't be Dick Grayson. Maybe it's somebody, though. I feel like it would just be cool if that was like, you know, like Iron Man, like when they said like the guy who wore the Iron Man mask and like did this as a little kid was Spider-Man. Like, okay, I like that. Maybe this is somebody we know. I don't know. It could be nobody. Just showing Bruce being a hero. It's in his DNA to be the hero. Save the day. So anyway, so we get this car, crashes through. Now this guy comes out. He's got a phone attached to his hand. My first thought was bomb. But we see Batman in this area later on, so and doesn't look blown up. My thought is this phone that's taped to his hand is allowing the Riddler to give a message verbally, and then the thing strapped on the dude's chest, obviously, is the card for Batman. Maybe something is in here that kills this guy. Maybe he just gets arrested. But if you look, the face paint looks similar to the face paint of the goons we see later on in the trailer, who kind of gave me a Jokerish vibe with some of the face paint, but some of them just have symbols on their face. The other thing I was like, oh, maybe this is like sort of like the mutants, a different take on the mutants, which we know from the Dark Knight Returns. But I think these guys are Riddler cronies. The makeup that he's got on the bottom of his face looks very similar to the makeup of the guys that we see later on. I'm thinking these guys that are working with Riddler, and Riddler's concept, I think, man, is gonna go play like. Where he's coming from and what he's acting, I think is deeper and darker than we even think or see here. But also the other thing we can see in this image is the car has Don written on it, so and a bunch of symbols. So I don't know what all the symbols or things are, but clearly these are all clues that Batman's going to have to lean in. And then we have a picture of the guy that we saw. A picture of him earlier. I think that's Don's face. I think this is the DA. But I just love like what you're getting. The color palette, it just looks and feels like Gotham. Also, I love that on this too, the Batman, the letters that are capital and lowercase are completely different than the other ones. I love all of this stuff. And then look at Robbie's face, dude. He is like, I don't know who's doing this, but when I find him, he's got that look of rage. And that's the idea of a young Bruce that I love. Like, a guy who will brutalize, do whatever he has to do without killing a person. And we definitely get that vibe when we get to the end of this bad boy. Now, here, yes, Selina Kyle dropping in. We know that this is not Selina Kyle yet. Well, it is Selina Kyle. She's not Catwoman yet. Matt Reeves talked about that in the panel, that she is not Catwoman. She's got Catwoman vibes, things that could be leading to Catwoman. Right now, I think she's just a basic B&E person. And she's going to probably break in and enter a house that I think the Batman is investigating in regards to these murders, and that's how they're going to run into each other, and you're going to get that classic Batman not trusting Catwoman, like, why are you here? What are you doing in here? What do you have to do with these murders? And once he figures out that that's not what she's involved in, she's just stealing things, you're going to start to see that relationship build between Batman and the eventual Catwoman. And then we're going to see them team up because we've seen them on the bikes together in those early footage stills that came out way back in the day, pre-corona. But yeah, I think that's going to lead to them teaming up, which again, also long Halloween vibes. Love it, love it, love it. And even without seeing her face, like just that shot of her eye and then the shot of the bat, I love what we're getting, just little bits from Zoe Kravitz here. And I love the back of this hat. It's not a cat hat. It's a regular, like you can see, it only goes down to like here because it's a regular like winter hat. And winter hats have those seams, and she's just got the seams turned so it looks like ears. This is how deep this guy is thinking about things, man. Like, it's just, everything is hidden. I cannot wait. Matt Reeves doing the Lord's work over here in a 2.5 minute trailer. So here now, we see we're outside here. We've got a car parked in this parking lot. We got another car driving up, and we can see Gotham Sanitation, East Side Depot. So this is obviously underworld, crime type stuff, mob vibes. And the very next thing we see is this guy. Who is this guy? We can assume it's the Penguin. Colin Farrell's playing the Penguin. That don't look like Colin Farrell. When he speaks, it don't sound like Colin Farrell. That's because Colin Farrell is, again, one of the greats out there, and he has range that I feel like people forget about sometimes, and he's going to show you. I disappeared. I ain't here. I am completely something different. And it would make sense that the Penguin would be here. Maybe he's meeting with Carmine's people. Maybe he's meeting with Maroni's people. Who knows who he's meeting with, but it's going to go bad. We're going to see that in a couple of minutes. But I love this look of the Penguin. Like, when I first heard Colin Farrell get announced, I thought of Gotham and what they did with Penguin there, where he looks like a slim little guy. Like, he's not stocky and overweight or older. He's younger. I was like, all those things could work with Colin Farrell. And we've seen Cobblepot have like a British accent before, kind of a Cockney accent. Something that Colin Farrell could totally do. So I thought that might be the way they go and kind of follow that Gotham vibe of like breaking the knee, having him walk like a penguin, and that's why they call him Penguin, rather than physically looking like a penguin. But that's less comic accurate feeling. I mean, like the Telltale games we saw, like Cobblepot, that was far smaller and just kind of like built well and not out of shape. But this Cobblepot feels like what I know from the cartoons, from the comic books, and it doesn't feel like he's some creepy penguin like DeVito eating like black sludge. This feels like a guy who is trying to take over all of the crime operations in Gotham. Just on looks. And I love the way he looks. Here, also, I mean, this is just classic Batman, dude. Like, look at it moving around him. That is a classic Batman on the rooftop shot. Put it in there. Just tells me, oh, this is a guy who's watched Batman movies. We know when he's up on the roof, we like to see that swing around his head with Gotham in the background. So I love that. Here we go. We got those goons that he's gonna... That's the dude he's about to dismantle. Shortly, you can see that makeup. You got like a cross symbol on this guy's face, almost like a Joker like trail on this dude's face. He's got like kind of a little bit of a smile. Like, it's interesting. The other thing too that I noticed is when Batman takes off that mask at the end, his face looks a lot whiter than normal. I wonder if he impersonates one of these guys, and maybe that's why the eye black is on there, because they all have eye black and white faces. But regardless, something to look out for. Now here, I like this too. We hear Riddler talking here, where he goes, if you are justice, please do not lie. All about lies. That's what the Riddler is getting at. He wants to let us know somebody's lying, and I'm going to figure out and let you know in a really effed up way who it's doing. I like these shots of the bat. Like, I'm thinking this is Patterson hitting here, and then the cowl in that red. I don't know why everything's in red there, but similar to the reveal was in kind of like a red lit room. I wonder if that's something in the Batcave. I wonder if maybe he failed somewhere and now he's pissed, so he's taking off the cowl. He's punched the thing. The next thing we're going to see is Batman interacting with the police again. This time, not so calm and friendly. We see him pushing and shoving and fighting people. And as he says, please don't lie, you see Commissioner Gordon, boom, pop Batman up. So clearly, like I said, they've got their relationship sort of established. I don't think Gordon can trust him completely, but knows that in this instance, probably definitely needs him. So I like that they're at odds. The police don't trust this dude yet. He's only been a bat for a year and a half, and who dresses up like a bat that you can trust? You know what I mean? So I like seeing that. Then we got Selina hopping on her motorcycle, which we know about. Now, gunfight. Boom, boom, boom. We're seeing all these shots, and who's holding one of these machine guns? Yeah, it's the Penguin. But this is obviously the meeting at the Sanitation Depot. It went sideways, and now everybody's shooting at each other. Again, I'm telling you, like 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 scenes shot total cut up here. Like all these places, everywhere we see Penguin, I think that's coming from one bit. Everywhere we've seen Catwoman, I think that's coming from one bit. When we've seen, that police scene at the open, one bit. Stuff with those goons cut out throughout, one thing. So much here, so little. If Matt Reeves is doing this much with this little, imagine what he's going to do when we get like a full 2 hours of content, dude. It's wonderful. So I love whatever this crime, deal is not working. This! Oh, play it on a loop. Stunning work. For both Batman and Catwoman here. Her movements feel like Catwoman movements. Real acrobatic, very light, very fast. Batman, minimal. Like he just ducks, stands up, and it's like he didn't even have to move to avoid that kick. Oh, dude, I love it so freaking much. And just the way they both look at each other at the end when Batman stands up, the look in his eyes, you can see, we've seen those covers. I've talked about them on Twitter. Probably gonna get white light up eyes, but those covers ain't always there. You can see Batman's eyes a bunch of times. And here, we see Batman. The look he gives Selina and then the look Selina gives him is like, all right, we should stop. Maybe we should trust each other. So I just love all of that. It just... And then finishing with what is the price for your eye, that rhyme that he's been speaking through the whole middle of this. And we see him, boom, slam down on a dude's head. And then we get to see Batman. As you can see, he's about to be blown up. But he is in that courtyard, which I think is out front of the courthouse. The car is still there. The stairs aren't destroyed, so that phone that dude is holding, clearly not a bomb. He doesn't blow up. It's just left exactly how it was after that car crash. And clearly Batman's coming back to do some investigating of his own. And whatever, I'm thinking something maybe was left at the scene that wasn't there originally, but whatever he goes to look into, boom, blows him up. And just a beautiful shot of Batman slow-mo falling back. The everything about this is just perfect. And then we go back. This is where we can really see Dano as he's stretching out that duct tape to put around Don's face. And we see, originally I thought it was like a plastic duct tape kind of bag with goggles. And that was what was making me think Court of Owls, because it's got a kind of a bird-like feel to it. And then those goggles, if they were goggles, it's kind of Talon-esque, you know what I mean? But here we can see, clear as day, he's got all this duct tape, plastic bag, whatever, slits cut for his face, or for his eyes, and he's just wearing specs, like regular old glasses, which is interesting and almost more creepy. Like, you go to the lengths to have that creepy mask and then just throw regular glasses on it, like, that's weird. And again, just the vibes I'm getting from Paul Dano and the little bit that we got from Colin Farrell. Matt Reeves is knocking it out of the park with these villains, and these villains are crushing, and we haven't really seen them do anything. So I love that those are glasses and not goggles. I'm about it. Now, here we are. We're just going to play this on a loop. I'm going to slow it down during this loop, and we're just going to talk about this over and over and over again. But this guy going, who are you? Walking up to Batman, and then, Bat, yes, all day long. Just run it again, beat his face in, and like the aggressiveness and the ferocity behind the force of the punches physically looking and the sounds they're putting in, like that first punch probably broke that dude's jaw. Second, that backhand, like, probably is gonna give him a full-on black eye. Destroy, look at his arm flopping around, dude. Destroy this dude's arm. And then punches him 3 more times in the face so hard that, like, I feel like his whole face is shattered. And you're like, well, that's enough. That guy's done. Nah, 3 more punches to the face hard. Like those last noises and the looks on all these guys' faces, to me, just screams like when he goes, I'm vengeance. These guys are all just going to run away. Like, that's the vibe. Like, I'm going to break your leader down in such a brutal, vicious way that none of you guys are going to want to fight me. And the other thing I love, too, is you see the one guy holding a phone camera taking video of this. Maybe that's the first video of the Batman that will go viral and give a full look of him and what he's doing to people, which would scare people. Because you don't know that guy's alive. He hits that guy so hard, I think he might be dead. We know he's definitely not dead, but this is that vengeance, that rage that lives inside of Bruce because of what happened to his parents. And this is a guy who hasn't polished that aspect of himself. I think he's a little bit more emotional, ruthless than the type of control he could have as an older Batman. But even then, even when Batman is in control, he still brutalizes people. And seeing him do it, that guy will live. He gotta be in a hospital for a while, but he'll live. That's the line for Batman. That should be the line for Batman. When you're dealing with these big, bad, crazy people, you gotta go all the way up to that line and just not cross it. Early Batman, for sure, should be more brutal than later on Batman. And even later on Batman should still be brutal. Like what we got with Ben Affleck's Batman. Brutal. That's how Batman is. He just don't kill people. So I love all of this. This is the thing that this trailer needed. Show me the action. Look at how fast. I think it's Robbie the whole time. Maybe a stunt double, but regardless, the feel, the look, the speed, the ferocity, it's all there. That's what I want in the action, the hand-to-hand combat stuff. Give me that all day long, man. We're going to come back to the scene in a minute. But, so just, vengeance. And then we go right into the Batmobile. Like, come on, dude. I love it. Looks like a car. Looks like something that a young Bruce Wayne would build, you know, because it's mostly taking the car and just adding a jet engine, a rocket engine to it. Clearly, dude's got the money to put in like a rocket engine to fly around. But it's more about what I think that engine will allow the car to do, which we'll see in a second. Boom, as he crashes through the wall coming up here. Just look at the way it lights up, all of that. And boom, he comes crashing through. He's chasing somebody. Who's he chasing? We'll know in a minute. But then following that, then we're going to see, I don't think these guys run away from Batman, because we're seeing these guys in the same makeup. This dude's taking a shot at him. Look at it. Boom. Shot right here. Why is it right here? Because he's got that bat symbol, man. It draws the eye. Shoot me in the armor, not in the face. And that's where it hits him. So I love that. And clearly these guys are going to try to shoot him. Ain't going to do anything. And he going to beat the crap out of these dudes. And then from that, we go to this right here. This is maybe my favorite looking shot. Like, this camera is just attached. Some sort of rig must be on Pattinson as he flies up that stairwell. That shot is... Sorry, I got so excited. I knocked my microphone over. But that shot is just beautiful. And, like, again, just something that feels like it's ripped right off the pages of a comic book, baby. And now, you were asking who's he chasing? Boom, here's that shot of Colin Farrell where you hear him go, that guy's crazy. Yeah. This guy's crazy. Doesn't sound anything like him. Clearly with the makeup doesn't look like him. But who's chasing him? Batman in the Batmobile. So that scene of the Batmobile turning on, maybe that's at some random point. But that scene of the Batman crashing behind the car and following, that's him chasing Penguin. I think that's probably coming out of the depot, running from the depot. I think the Bat's going to show up during the gun shootout, and Penguin's going to try to make an escape, and Batman going to go chase him. And now, our last shot. We just see, it looks like Batman just kind of floats up. Like honestly, the first few times I watched the trailer, I thought maybe he was on some kind of platform that was rising. No, man, look at all the guys standing around him. That's the group of dudes that just watched him beat the crap out of that guy. And this is right after he says, I am vengeance. Standing up and just looking at this group. And this looks like a group that's not running away. They're about to throw down, which means we're going to get to watch Batman destroy like 12 dudes. Ugh. And if that's not enough for you, this title card, amazing. I love the cloud and the bat symbol showing up. I saw that from the get-go, and I'm not gonna lie, one of those little cloud bits kind of looked like a young boy. And then I was like, I think it's just the clouds moving. I'm putting him on it. But the thing I noticed later on is the way the Batman is forming. You get ears on the A as it all kind of trickles down. It's just, look at that, man. Like, Matt Reeves, you're doing everything right. Even the title card has me freaking excited. And then our last little bit. We hear, Riddler, you were part of this too. That's not what this scene is. He's not like having a phone call. This is somewhere else where this conversation is happening between these two. But, he's like, how am I part of this? I don't have anything to do with this. That's what was making me think that maybe we're scratching the surface. Or leaving the clues to the Court of Owls. Maybe we're scratching the surface. Leaving clues to the history of the Waynes. Maybe the Riddler knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Regardless of that, if Batman is tied to this, how is he tied to this? I think it could be his family history. I love it. And then the shot, see, his face looks a little bit more white than normal, but the eye black, just perfect. And then even this is brilliant. Question mark 0, question mark 1. 2021 is when this movie's supposed to come out, but we live in the middle of a pandemic, and we don't know when movies will actually... theaters are reopened. Movies are supposed to be coming back. Tenet has an official release date. I bought my ticket. Got to drive up to Danbury, sit in a theater alone. So far, no one's bought a ticket, but, seats around you are automatically X'd off at AMC when you select them. So I'm not too nervous, and I think it's going to be low numbers of people early. But we'll see. There are a lot of people. I might just bounce and be like, can I get a refund? But we don't know. We get to the end of this month, the beginning of September, and things get worse, or theaters close down. We don't know. So I love the question mark 0, question mark 1. It could be 3021, 2031. Also, using the question marks as the 2s. Shout out to Riddler. And then even the last thing that we see, only in theaters, currently in production. Love it. And the one thing that Fandom gave us across the board yesterday with all the trailers, all these trailers are pushing only in theaters. Warner Brothers is not going to release these to stream. They're going to make us wait for them unless it gets too, it's so long that we're never going to, we have to just get it out there. But it feels like movie theaters are coming back, and DC is going, our movies will be in movie theaters. Listen to it. Only in theaters, only in theaters, only in theaters. But I love it, and it's in those letters, and God, dude, just like everything about this trailer, perfect. And my dude's only shot 25% of this freaking movie. And like I said, I think this whole trailer is maybe 6 to 8 sequences in the movie that are just cut together brilliantly to give you an idea of the story, the baseline. I mean, we took so much out of here. And it just looks gorgeous, man. Like, yeah, it's got that Nolan-esque kind of vibe to the seriousness that Reeves is taking this character. Even some of the color palette of Gotham. But I think, I personally think Reeves' Gotham is looking better. And he told us also on the panel he shot a lot in Liverpool. He was like, you want to do, like, we have a Gotham Square, which is kind of like Times Square. But if he shot in Times Square, it'd be like, oh, Gotham is New York City. We don't want that. If you know anything about the DC universe, Gotham is actually closer to like South Jersey, like in that area, or maybe it's north. Somewhere in Jersey though is where Gotham is actually supposed to be on the map. So I like that. Like we don't want you to think it's New York City. We go to Liverpool, shooting their type of Times Square. Now it's like, where are we shooting? I haven't seen this. This isn't Pittsburgh. This isn't Chicago. This isn't New York. Love that idea. Also, rainy a lot in England, and Gotham is typically rainy when we see it. So, like, that's a vibe fit. I don't know. I am loving this, and I can see the vibes and clearly inspirations from different creators, different versions of Batman, different movies that are being put in here. I think Matt Reeves is doing something that we've never seen, and I really genuinely think this is going to be the best Batman movie we've ever gotten. The one that feels the most like true Batman. Because Robbie's a phenomenal actor. I think he's perfect for the role. And Matt Reeves, brilliant director. When they said Ben was passing it to Matt, I was like, that's a genius idea. Because I love what Reeves does. And I love the people that Reeves works with. You get them in here, man. Like, all good things. And I just think this one's going to be special. And I hope he gets a trilogy. I hope Gotham PD pops. And I hope he builds out an MCU-style universe just for Batman. Because of the amount of villains in the Rogues Gallery, the amount of other heroes we can bring in, Robin, Batgirl, Nightwing, like, do it all, Matt Reeves. Just make this thing go, wow. We thought the MCU was awesome. Look what they did with just Batman. I love it. And like he also said, this is its own universe, man. This does not have anything to do with the DCU, which also gives him the freedom to do whatever he wants to do. I love that. I think Warner Brothers and DC are really building to a legitimate multiverse within the movies and TV. Like, genius. I mean, we found out over the weekend, Flash, Andy Muschietti, like, confirmed this. Flash's name, the Flash, comes from that scene we got in the WB crossover, Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Ezra Miller's Barry Allen pops up, and when, Grant Gustin says the Flash, Barry's like, the Flash? Huh, the Flash. That's awesome! Like, that's our first look into, oh yeah, everything might actually start being tied together, and that is what we've all been saying they should be doing from the get-go. The one thing you got up on Marvel is the multiverse. And now with Spider-Man stuff going on and the possibility of a multiverse in the MCU, Kevin Feige gonna try to get there and do it bigger and better. DC, lean in. Warner Brothers, lean in. And that's the other thing. I think Warner Brothers is finally leaning into the weird. I'm hearing rumors that Starro is gonna be the bad guy in Suicide Squad. That's something that Warner Brothers would never done. But leaning into the weird, paid off with Aquaman. Do it for everything, man, because you'll just make your fans more happy and less angry. So there you go, man. Those are all the Seamans. Long-winded breakdown thoughts on the Batman trailer. Holy crow, this thing is freaking genius. I cannot wait for this movie. I can't wait to see more. I can't believe they gave us this much. But I'm done. I dove deep. And hopefully I found some things that piqued your interest. But now I want to know what you're thinking, man. What did you catch in this trailer? What popped or stood out to you? Anything that I missed or didn't touch on? Or anything that I did touch on that you were like, oh, that's interesting. Anything you're thinking about this breakdown in this trailer and what we could be going with this movie, this universe, what Matt Reeves is doing, boom, hit it down below in the comments section. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the Seaman, more on the Batman, be here for everything we're talking about with this movie, show a little love to me in the sit down, jump over there, man. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, again, massive thank you to everybody who turned out for the Batman reaction. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully this is helpful to you. But until next time we get together to talk, and we'll probably be a couple more times today. We got Lovecraft Country tonight. Be reviewing that right after it airs. That show is amazing. But until I pop up for one of those, man, I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Hey! Well, I'll be. You guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit-Down Squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.